All right, so you're a tile contractor and you're trying to make more money and do fewer jobs. Everyone wants to. I wanted to. I worked at it. It's hard to do. I know that. Now, how do you do that though in real life? If the situation, the market that you're in, the customers that you cater to, that money's just not there. Okay. But if everybody that you're bidding against is just low dollars, they're half the cost. You know, they want to do a whole bathroom flip for $5,000. Do we want to keep doing that kind of work? I don't. So how can we bring home more money, do better work, and do less jobs? Think about it. Would you rather do 10 jobs in a year and make $100,000, or do 15 jobs in a year and make $100,000, right? That's simple. So let's discuss 4 simple strategies that will take practice still to be able to implement in your jobs, big and small. I'm talking little side job, backsplash on the weekend, full-blown mansion remodel, or new build, whatever. You take your pick, okay? Now, strictly speaking, this is about business, but let's apply this in the world of Tile Money. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a big fan of Luke Miller over at Tile Money. So I wrote a post in Tile Money, this is what this video is following up on, about these 4 simple strategies that we can implement over and over and over and over. There's no limitation, and it's not a gimmick. It's just simply understanding some human behavior and establishing dominance, and then providing real value. Now, for the sake of this exercise, let's say there are 2 parties and both decision makers are at the table, okay? This gets a little bit more complicated. These things still apply, but if you're in a situation like for what I do for a living, if I'm negotiating business deals with distribution, etc., there's a third party at least, that's my employer, who may not be at the table, and most of the time is not at the table. But my employer, whose interest in limitations, I still have to represent and respect. So it becomes a little bit of a different dance, a little different dynamic, where we can dive into the more complicated negotiation scenarios at a future date with people if they choose. But let's talk about 2 interested parties at the table, neutral ground, the stage is set, you've met, you've got a good lead, you've already gone through your pre-qualification, you've determined this is a lead you're going to go meet. You're going to go to the job site, whether it be a new build with the contractor or a remodel, take your pick, whatever. So pre-qualified already, you're going to go there and meet them, discover information. This is your first real connection with them, but you have already talked to them. It's very important to understand that, whether it be a phone or an email or whatever. So there is communication that has already existed. So really your performance and the sales process has begun already, and hopefully you've taken good account of that and done the right steps. Now you're in front of each other and the sales process is about to really take off. Let's discuss those 4 steps. Keep watching. Okay, it's game day. You're on the job site. This is your first real face-to-face interaction with your prospect. Everything's neutral. You don't necessarily know if anyone else has bid this job yet. There's a lot of things you don't know, but you do know that information is key here. So throughout this entire process, you will always be trying to discover information, readily turn that information around and utilize it, okay? That's very important, and that is a constant through this entire process. That's a constant through every negotiation process. Information is absolutely vital, and we'll segue into why it's important for you to appear like you have information that is so critical they didn't even know about. We'll get into that a little bit later. There's 4 steps here, and they are obviously interconnected. You can implement them individually, or you can implement them all together to really hit the ball out of the ballpark. The first one is, I would implore you to sell with no. Get comfortable saying no to your prospect. We'll talk about that in a moment, but get comfortable saying no. And I know it's counterintuitive sometimes to some people. The second thing is double the cost of your bids. Yes, I said exactly that. Double the cost of your bids. Don't act like anything is any different. Don't justify it. Don't act differently. They don't know what the cost of your previous bid was. Take a safe number, say 5 or 10 or whatever you feel comfortable with, and say, I'm going to write up the next 5 bids, and whatever I come out, I'm going to then double. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. The next thing is 2 different, you might see them as opposing methods to actually work and interact in negotiation with the customer, okay? The first one It's what I call bracketing. There's lots of different terms for it, but I call it bracketing. Say I have a target number in my head, okay? I've done enough information gathering, preliminary, and here in front of me, and I've determined for this job, the safe number that I know I have a really good chance of getting, is pretty common in this area, is 15 grand, okay? But I'm not common, and I don't like the status quo, and I'm an awesome tile guy, right? So I want 20 grand for this project. I'm not gonna tell them that just yet. Okay, this is one technique. This is where I can go ahead and double my bid. Give them 40 grand, okay? I'm going to work them backwards. They're going to be shocked. They're going to tell me no. That's the step. Get to the no quickly. Get to their no to you quickly. Then negotiate or bracket down and make concessions. And then all of a sudden, hey, maybe we can land at 20,000. They think they're getting one hell of a steal because clearly you know what you're talking about. And we'll get into that a little bit later too. You know what you're talking about, and maybe you're just out of their ballpark, but all of a sudden they got you down to 20, okay? That's bracketing, that's the first. The other way to flip that around is to start small. Don't give them the big number just yet. Start small. And this is sort of the car salesman standpoint. We want to build a history of saying yes. We want to get them to be agreeable to things, okay? A very simple analogy would be to meet each other, and when you're establishing that rapport, that makes some sort of a comment about, oh, it's really beautiful out here, isn't it? Yeah, it is, okay? Keep that and continue to escalate the priority and the intensity of those chances for agreement up a little bit more as you get inside and they're discussing what they see and what they'd like you to do. For example, they want dual shower heads. You can go ahead and say, yeah, that's a really great idea. Hey, XYZ, use your knowledge and take what they've told you they want, regurgitate it back to them in a question with some useful information that maybe they didn't think about, and get them to say yes. It's not that hard because they just told you what they want. A couple things happen here. They continue to build their commitment to you, subconsciously as well as consciously. They get into sort of a routine habit that you're right. That does a couple things, right? It builds rapport. It also establishes dominance, and it establishes that you know what you're talking about. Perhaps you have information that is more in depth than they ever did about a given subject. I hope you do, because you're the professional, right? So that's what we're doing. We're trying to establish that. And in that process, say no. Say no to them. Now, sometimes this is real easy, right? Sometimes the client comes to us with some pretty crazy ideas that we just flat out to say, look, it's the wrong way to do things. Follow up that no with the context and the proper information so they understand. Continue to do this. This is what I mean by selling with no. Continue to tell them no. Sometimes you might have to engineer a situation that's really not all that important to say no. Okay. One of the things that I feel pretty strongly about, and I did this in my own business because it was lessons I learned the hard way, was putting natural stone in the shower pan. I know people love to look at natural stone. And where I was setting tile up in Northwest Washington, natural stone was a really big thing up there, okay? Now, of course, we have color problems with them, saturation problems, and that's a whole different topic for a different forum. So one of the things that I would do is listen to them talk about, well, this natural stone in this shower pan. I would then tell them, no, here's a better idea. Let's do porcelain that looks just like natural stone. You won't really be able to tell the difference, but it's going to absolve you of X, Y, Z technical problem. Hey, by the way, it's also going to lower that cost a little bit. Why is that good? Side note, because that's money I can flip. I can log roll it into something else in my job to give me more money, i.e. a labor or something else. Whether it be, maybe they didn't have any interest in a heated floor, but I can go ahead and segue them into a heated floor, and there's enough money left perceptually in their pie. They don't know that I'm about to blow their pie up, right? But in their safe pie, there's still some money left for me to consume. So save some money on the natural stone, tell them, no, I look like an expert. By the way, I'm also a salesperson. Let's go ahead and segue into the heated floor, and this is why you want that heated floor. And again, this has to cater to their emotions. If you just say heated floors, cool, that's not really sales. But talk about how it feels in the morning. Talk about the ability to not only heat the floor, but also radiate the room and how that can save on the energy, the comfort, the consistency. Your wife, because we all know that the wives primarily drive all this stuff, right? It's the absolute fact. Your wife is gonna love her bare feet on this beautiful floor in the morning when she wakes up, etc., 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 okay? Create that vivid picture. There's a lot of information here, I know that. So continue to use build your credibility and provide information and context. Another very important thing that this does is builds clout in your prospect or your prospective client's judgment and the way that they see your competitors. Okay. Well, why didn't the other guy talk to me about natural stone in the shower pan? Was that guy just being unethical? Was he just stupid and does he not know anything about it? Or did he just not care? Well, it may not be either one of those, or it might be all three of those. And it doesn't need to be answered, but the point is that you put that doubt in their head. And worst case, not for you, but for your competition, is that they call up your competition and say, hey, Tom, I found out some information about natural stone in a shower pan. And then Tom has to sit there and justify, okay? So it builds clout when you establish your dominance and your authoritarianism, because you are the expert, right? A person like me, you will never sell something to me if you're not the expert in the matter. If I know more about it than you do, the only way I'm buying it from you is a mercy. So, and of course, when we're talking about our homes, things that are very expensive, this is very important to build that judgment there. This is a relationship that will protect you as you go on to do your jobs and say something goes wrong or something doesn't go 100% correct or whatever, because no job ever does. You have some emotional and relationship reputation collateral that you built up through this extensive process that you can absorb some of that some of that resentment or a little bit of problem there. You can recover from it, okay? Because you have that equity that you built up in your relationship. Now, fast forward through the rest of this deal. I've collected all the information that I need, okay? I'm gonna go home and write up my bid. They're excited, they're ecstatic. They like me, they know I'm a business guy, and they're not sure exactly what the number's gonna look like, but I was able to really inform them about some key aspects of things that they wanted that they didn't know about, because YouTube didn't really cover it, or the Home Depot book didn't really cover it, right? Or Chip and Joanna definitely didn't cover it, okay? So you're the expert. They've bought into you already. Now they just have to buy your job, right? And this goes back to being able to bracket with them. I'm gonna go home and write up my bid. And I'm gonna do it in a professional and timely manner. By bid, I do not mean a paragraph thing with your signature at the bottom and your business address. Okay, that's a different topic, and Tile Money has lots of bid templates and stuff in it, but a comprehensive document that's going to line out the work needing to be done and is representative of you and your effort and your quality of business. And that bid's going to say 40 grand on it, and they're going to shit themselves because you probably shit yourself when you wrote it. That's okay. That's growth. I know it sounds scary. I know there's a whole bunch of things that could happen now all of a sudden. I could just totally lose that job. I could be laughed off the block. My reputation could be damaged. Yada, 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 yada. I've heard all that crap. I don't care. Listen, be confident. The thing to do when you negotiate is to speak after you've listened, which we've done at this point. Say your pitch and then shut your mouth. Don't talk yourself out of a job, and don't talk yourself down from profit either. Stick to that 40 grand. Let them internalize it. A couple of things might happen here. They may not even call you back. If you had done your job previously and built that rapport and built that credibility in your performance, your training, all the resources that you have and your skills, etc., that's going to be very difficult for them to simply not respond to you, okay? Very difficult. Because the law of reciprocation, they're going to want to reciprocate in some nature, even if they, quite literally speaking, do not have the resources to buy that job for 40 grand, okay? Before we dive into what's more likely to happen, let's talk about what might happen. They might be so freaking enthralled by you And they might have plenty of resources. They might write a 40 grand paycheck for you, in which case, high five, buddy, congratulations, that's fantastic, okay? What I would say to that then is make sure you continue to deliver that value that you represented, that you sold in that discovery process and that bid process throughout the length of the entire job, okay? If you're gonna cost 40 grand, you better deliver 50 grand, right? We talk about that all the time. Now let's segue into what's probably more likely to happen with most of us, including myself. You get some sort of a response, and we can take our pick how it's going to be worded, but something along the lines of, hey Chris, thanks for your time. Yeah, we really love you. You're really smart. Blah 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 blah. That's just way out of our budget, and it's just frankly something that we can't do. And that might be all they say. They might hopefully be smart and say something along the lines of, what could we work on to come to a better price with you, okay? If they don't ask that information, ignore that they didn't ask it and pretend they did and deliver on it anyways, okay? If they just simply say, hey Chris, yeah, we really like you, buddy, you're real cool and all, but yeah, we just don't have the money, thanks for your time, have a good day. I'm gonna rebuttal with something along the lines of, I totally understand. Let's see what we can work on, okay? And this might be an opportunity to go back to all the no's that we said and the information and the credibility that we built up and make concessions on things that don't necessarily matter, okay? Now, in your head, you need to have things that are very important to you that you need to protect, and you also need to have things that you can sacrifice. Maybe throwing on that heated floor was a great sales pitch and threw out a lot of value to them and also further established your credibility. That might be something you can sacrifice on now to bring that number down, and they're okay with it. But you've protected your labor though. Whatever it is, you've got things you want to protect. So the things that are in discussion to be negotiated are the ones that you're willing to sacrifice already. They don't know that. They think those are pretty big items, okay? So you're making a concession, and this is a form of bracketing. We might go in and say, hey, yeah, I understood what you said about that porcelain in the pan, but man, I just really love that Italian stone. But yeah, if it's gonna save me XYZ dollars and time, etc., let's go ahead and use that porcelain, okay? So now we're making a barter here, okay? Law of reciprocation. If I concede, you're going to want to follow that up. Not everybody is going to fall into that trap. I'm the type of person who understands this, and I don't necessarily fall into that trap. But nonetheless, there's two ways that we can work that. We can look at that, okay? I'm not going to feel emotionally obligated to you simply because you conceded. However, a lot of people will. So understand that emotions is an important part of this. But a guy like me who's very analytical, I will, however, appreciate just reason and fairness. And so if you come to me and you remove 20%, I'm going to be more likely to say, okay, I respect that. I can play that game, that's fair. And I can go ahead and concede and budge something similar on my end. So there's two ways. You get to the same point. It doesn't matter who you're working with, you end up in the same place here. And that is how we can get down to that 20 grand mark. When Tom over here decided, well, 15 grand is what's safe in this place, oh boy, I got Christmas is coming up, birthdays are coming up, I better stack up these jobs. He bid that at 9,995. Why? Because Tom's an idiot. That's why. Okay. You're not Tom. You're not the idiot. They walk away happy doing business with you, spending twice what Tom was going to do, and getting a better value and a better experience from you. You walk away with a relationship that you could literally ask when it's done for a positive referral. Okay? What positive referral are they going to give Tom? Hey, Tom kept the status quo and did what we asked, and he did it for cheap. Congratulations. Okay, that is a positive referral, but it's not that great of an accomplishment, okay? That's like being able to get hugs and kisses from a little baby. It's just not that hard, right? Now, your 20 grand job, they spent way more money. They feel far more confident in the work you're doing because they've paid more for it. That's part of that psychology. And you keep up that image and that reputation in your work. And you continue to deliver on that throughout the entire job and all the communication, right? We talk about this all the time. When it's all said and done, not only is it wonderful and beautiful and everything they wanted, it's far better than the work you've done previously. It took you a little longer, but now you're going to do 10 of these jobs, not 15 of these jobs. The kind of client who's going to reciprocate and talk with you and have you come over to their project to look at is going to be the type of client who's open in business like this. Meanwhile, Tom gets all the 7-Eleven dudes. Okay? And there's a market for both. It just depends on what market you're trying to cater to. You then have such an engaged relationship and they like you so much that they refer you out to your friends. Now, what sounds better? Hey, my guy Tom remodeled my bathroom. It's pretty good. It's okay. And he did it for cheap. Here's his card. Or, hey, my buddy Chris did my whole bathroom for me, and man, he blew it away. I mean, he taught us so much. He really took care of us, and he prevented problems before they ever even happened and told us all about it. And it's the best money we spent. Here's his number. You got to give this guy a call. Okay, what sounds better? Think about it. Think about it. So let's wrap this up. Sell by saying no, and therefore establish your credibility and your dominance. But have the information to back it up, okay? That's the caveat here. If you don't know what you're talking about, then you're not in this game. If you don't know what you're talking about, don't say no. You've got to know what the heck you're talking about, and then say no and back it up. Double the cost on your bids, which leads me into bracketing. Go for high, concede to where you really wanted to be in the middle ground, which in all reality is actually higher than where you would have been in the first place. It's a fun little game. Love to do it in the car sales world. The fourth thing, and opposing perhaps, or you can work with it in tandem to bracketing, what you want to do is establish yeses. Yes, yes, yes. Yes to small stuff. Yes to a little bit bigger stuff. Eventually you get this line in succession of yeses where they're literally in the habit of saying yes to you. Hey, can I bring you a steak dinner tonight because you guys have been so great to me? Yeah, we love it. That's just an example. It's kind of cheesy, but get them saying yes to all kinds of things and you saying no. I appreciate your guys' time. I know this is a long one, but knowledge is an investment. Go ahead and leave your feedback. There's a lot here. The best thing that you can do for yourself and for me is to internalize the things that I've discussed here and apply it to you and your business, because only you have that information. You're the expert. And say, well, based on that, this is what I have been doing. Maybe this is what I could do now. Okay? As we all band together, remember it takes a village, and we build a better tile community, our jobs will become better, our income better, our life better, and the industry better. And that's what I'm here to help with. Get at me anytime, guys. Take care.